Welcome to our World Food Safety Day celebration, Safe Food Now for a Healthy Tomorrow. This year, the National Environmental Health Association has teamed up with Environmental Health Australia to host a marathon event that highlights food safety professionals around the globe. We are pleased to present you with the faces of food safety as they share how they keep food safe in their communities. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to continuing the conversation on the importance of food safety.
Hello everyone, my name is Philip Swain. I'm the National President of Environmental Health Australia. I deliberately didn't say good morning, although it is here in Perth, Western Australia, but we have people participating in this day from various parts of the world in lots of different time zones. So wherever you are and whatever time it is, welcome to this, our live chat session for World Food Safety Day, being the 7th of June. We have a great lineup of speakers for today, and I hasten to add that our colleagues in the United States will be joining in tomorrow, early tomorrow, for a series of presentations with the National Environmental Health Association. For those of us here in Australia, you don't have to get up at midnight to take all this in, as the sessions will be recorded and be made available later, giving you an insight into the food safety systems in the United States, Egypt and Jamaica. So on to our speakers for today. Our first speaker is Frank Yiannas. Frank is the Deputy Commissioner for Food Policy and Response at the US Food and Drug Administration. He's the Principal Advisor to the Administration Commissioner on Food Safety Policies, including implementation of the Food Safety Modernisation Act. His leadership role covers a broad spectrum, such as outbreak response, traceback investigations, product recall activities, and supply chain innovation. Frank has had previous leadership roles with Walmart and the Walt Disney Company, and has long been recognised for his role in elevating food safety standards and building food safety management systems based on science and risk. To talk about the US food safety system, I welcome Frank to our World Food Safety Day live chat. Welcome, Frank.
Every year, June 7th is World Food Safety Day, and every year it becomes even clearer that all nations must stand together to help keep people all over the world safe and healthy. As we've learned from COVID-19, infectious diseases know no borders. The same is true of foodborne illness. In a global food system, if foodborne disease exists somewhere in the world, it can't exist anywhere in the world. The theme of this day, Safe Food for a Healthy Tomorrow, speaks volumes. It conveys that how we produce food today affects how the health and safety of people, animals, and even the planet is realized tomorrow. For each and every one of you who work for food to protect consumers from unsafe food, your legacy is the preservation of health and life itself. You will never know how many lives are saved, how you've improved the quality of life for others, or how our world is more vital and sustainable because of your efforts. But your impact is real and lasting. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations and the World Health Organization launched the first World Food Safety Day in 2019, and they've taken this stand: food safety is everyone's business. I think they're right. In a large and global food system, no single country, no single food producer, regardless of size, can ensure food safety alone. Food safety requires collaboration. It's a shared responsibility, and we've all got a stake in this together. Therefore, the calls to action on this day go out to governments, food producers, business operators, and consumers all over the world to do their part to help ensure that the foods that we buy, sell, eat, and serve to our customers, friends, and families are safe and wholesome. As nations continue to combat the danger of COVID-19, the hope and commitment embodied in the World Food Safety Day are needed now more than ever. Not just today, but every day. Not just in my country, but in all of our countries. I'd like to share with you what the US FDA is doing to meet this call to action through our implementation of the landmark FDA Food Safety Modernization Act, also known as FSMA, and the goals we've set forth in our new era of smarter food safety that builds on our FSMA achievements. The commitment embodied in both FSMA and the new era is to protect consumers from unsafe foods, no matter where in the world that food is produced. The vision embodied in both is that consumers must be secure in the knowledge that everything that can be done is being done to keep the global food supply safe. We passed an important milestone this year, the 10th anniversary of the signing of FSMA into law on January 4th of 2011. There's still work to be done, but we've accomplished a lot over the past decade. Because of FSMA, those who grow, produce, pack, hold, import, and transport our food are now taking concrete steps every day to reduce the risk of contamination. Importantly, and as a result of FSMA, there's been a bigger conversation about the importance of food safety over the past decade. This call to action has emanated from the halls of Congress and has traveled to farms, food facilities, corporations, and even consumers all over the world. We're building on what we've achieved through FSMA with the new era of smarter food safety by using new and emerging technologies and approaches to build a more digital, traceable, and safer food system. We've also learned during the pandemic that the new era is an approach whose time has come. We all know that the virus that causes COVID-19 is not known to be transmitted via food or food packaging, but the pandemic has raised complex issues for all nations. Early in the pandemic, there were food system imbalances in the marketplace and some temporary food shortages in certain commodities. In March of last year, we were literally days away from releasing our blueprint, outlining a 10-year plan to implement the new era of smarter food safety, when FDA's attention, rightfully so, shifted to pandemic response. By the time we released the blueprint in July, it was clear that there are goals that are needed and have been accelerated because of the pandemic. For example, both FSMA and the new era priorities include enhanced traceability of foods to rapidly identify the source of the contaminated food, to solve outbreaks sooner, do root cause analysis, and prevent additional illnesses. We learned during the pandemic that enhancing traceability might help create the type of food system transparency needed to anticipate and help manage supply chain disruptions and marketplace imbalances in a public health emergency. Another goal of the new era approach was to evaluate the feasibility of using new regulatory compliance assessment tools, such as remote inspections of foreign and domestic firms with a demonstrated history of compliance. The pandemic hastened the need for alternatives when routine surveillance inspections were temporarily suspended last year before we resumed them again in July of 2020. And in April of 2020, we began remote inspections of importers subject to the Foreign Supplier Verification Program requirements, also known as FSVP. The FSVP rule established by FSMA allows FDA to request records electronically for importers to help ensure that their foreign food suppliers are meeting U.S. food safety standards. By doing this, we not only didn't miss a beat in FSVP inspections, but we've conducted a record number of FSVP inspections since March of 2020, more than 1,600. We also want to explore the use of new preventive techniques, such as AI and machine learning, that consume large volumes of data to strengthen our predictive capabilities. We're conducting a pilot that leverages AI and machine learning to strengthen our ability to predict which shipments of imported goods into the U.S. pose the greatest risk of violation, and use that information to better target our import review resources. And in August 2020, we announced the findings of a proof of concept application of AI and machine learning models to 2 years of historical shipments of seafood data. Imagine this. Imagine having a tool that almost triples our ability to know which of the millions of shipping containers to examine because they're much more likely to have violated products. The second phase of this exciting pilot was launched in February of this year, applying the AI model to real-world field conditions. And FDA also wants to help ensure the safety of foods ordered online and delivered directly to consumers. The way consumers access food continues to evolve from around the corner to around the world and with an ever-changing last mile. Before the pandemic, research indicated that online grocery shopping would have approximately a 20% market share of consumer food spending within the next few years. But the pandemic has rapidly accelerated this trend. And with one study now reporting that food retailers saw online sales jumped by more than 300% in the first several months of the pandemic among certain food categories. And we are planning a new business model summit later this year to gain a greater understanding of evolving direct consumer business models and to explore the best ways to address potential food safety vulnerabilities. Here again, the need for best practices has been reinforced and accelerated by COVID. And we gained a new perspective during the pandemic on our plans to support the establishment of strong food safety culture on farms and food facilities and even homes around the world. Let's face it, we cannot make dramatic improvements in reducing the burden of foodborne disease, certainly in certain parts of the food system and world, without doing more to influence human behavior, especially among social groups, whether it be in a business, a country, or a home. But embracing a food safety culture also means keeping food workers safe, a priority that has become clear during the pandemic. FDA has worked with our federal regulatory partners to provide the food safety industry with the resources needed on safe practices to help reduce the risk of infection of COVID in the workplace. And we're also using a data analysis tool called 21 Forward that we developed last year to monitor the food supply chain and help with vaccine planning efforts by the states with key information about the location of food and ag workers in counties and states across the country. And with more people cooking at home, when restaurants temporarily closed, we recognized and we responded to the need to support consumers with information on how to best apply food safety practices in their kitchens at home. Taking responsibility and protecting each other is not just the foundation of a food safety culture, it's the belief inherent in both FSMA and the new era of smarter food safety. It mirrors the underlying theme of World Food Safety Day, that we, government, industry, and consumers, must all work together to keep each other safe. Let's face it, too many people are still dying from foodborne disease, with an estimated 600 million illnesses, almost 1 in 10 people in the world, and 420,000 deaths annually. And when we talk about these statistics, please remember that behind every one of these numbers is a real face, a real victim of foodborne disease. In the United States alone, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimates that 48 million people get sick and 3,000 people die each year from foodborne illnesses. Again, this is not the responsibility of just a single nation. We're all increasingly eating foods from all over the world. In the US, about 15% of the food supply is imported from more than 200 countries or territories, including 32% of fresh vegetables, 55% of fresh fruit, and at least 94% of the seafood that Americans consume each year comes from abroad. In closing, food safety is indeed everyone's business. A World Food Safety Day page at fda.gov has valuable information about how to participate in spreading the word about food safety and what you can do to avoid foodborne illnesses. World Food Safety Day is a recognition that when it comes to food safety, we all win or lose together. It's a commitment that we can win. No, it's a commitment that we must win, and we must win together.